In this episode, why bread is hurting you, why it's making your pee-pee smaller. Shh, I didn't say that. Yes, I did.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testing. Welcome everyone to episode 653 of the Daily Mother Whoa, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, Slutcast, and of course, the classic and the favorited Nipplecast. In the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps and, in some cases, our ball sacks. Welcome to episode 653, putting it down, throwing down tracks on a Sunday eve. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. What up? I hope everyone is stretched out, kicking up their feet, ready to make some sick fucking gains. Today's episode is about why bread is hurting you. And I told you we're going to talk a little bit more about that, talk a little bit about gluten, talk a little bit more about wheat germ agglutinin, and get into some of this lectin-ish. And today we're going to do just that. I'm going to talk, Facebook just crashed. So I'm going to keep on rolling because we're live on Instagram and we were live on Facebook. So it happens now and again. So let me say what's up to the Instagram fam while I'm reloading Facebook. So what's going on, fam? Tiny Fury. We got Lakes up. What's going on, team? How's everyone going? How's everyone doing? Let's see, Facebook. Why do you treat me this way? Right? Why do you treat me this way, Facebook? I'm not even going to edit this out. I'm just going to roll with it. This is what live broadcasting is all about. Some people don't like it. Oh, goodness. I want to edit anything out. Why bread is hurting you. Let's see. Why bread. Got to type in the title. Why bread is hurting you. Some people don't like that. Some people really get flustered when shit crashes, but it fucking happens all the time. You just don't see it. I just got home from the rock gym. It's the Russians. You know what? It is the fucking Russians. From now on, we're going to blame either Trump or the Russians or both. I mean, is there really much of a difference? We're just going to blame everyone. We're going to just be politically incorrect with all that. So thank you, Russia, for fucking up the broadcast. Brad, MF Robinson, excited to hear what you got to say on bread, my vice. No longer. I mean, unless you want to keep on consuming foamy poison. So let's just kind of get that out of the way. So those of you that are just tuning in now to Facebook Live, we should be good and going. Something tells me that's not going to be the last time it happens for whatever reason. So if it crashes, I'll reload it. But yeah, so Facebook crashed. It's okay. Let's get started. So thanks for watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for tuning in on Instagram and watching on YouTube. But remember, fam, if you want to catch up on some of the episodes or all the episodes, check it out. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, all there for your ear holes. So if you want to rape your ears with some audio knowledge and some audio nukes, you can catch it in the car, catch it while you're washing your ball sack, play it on in the shower. Just play it, catch up, get on the gain train. So let's say hi to some Facebook-ish late night nukes, the late night knowledge nukes. Fuck yeah. I love the late night nukes. Everyone's here. Look, people are coming in droves. There's so much more action. So much more live action in the evening. So we'll do more evening swoles. This is just trial and error, right? You got to do things, you got to try different things and see what's up. Oliver, what's up? Mike Stuttle, got the Swolenormous X fam going, dropping some knowledge. Yeah, float some biceps, and we'll get going. So to get it started, who here, put in the comments right now, who here has done an elimination diet? Let's start there. Who here has done an elimination diet? Today we're talking about grains, we're talking about bread. So who here has done an elimination diet and who here has seen benefits from getting rid of bread or grains? So let's do that. Let's start there. So now I'll get some questions, we'll get some questions going, but I want you to all start dropping shit in the comments. Have you seen progress and improvements and benefits from cutting bread out of your, and what have you noticed? What have you noticed from eliminating that? That's probably even just equally just as important. What have you noticed from eliminating? Because you do not need bread or grains. You don't need them. You don't need them to survive. You don't need them for health. And this is mixed with science and opinion and experience. You don't need that. Human beings were fine. We were fine. We evolved and we just started consuming these things because when you think about what grains and what these food sources were beneficial for, it was beneficial for those winter months where you can dry the wheat and you can store them in the winter when food wasn't readily available. And then it just kind of became pervasive, especially now, obviously, supermarkets and shit like that, they're fucking everywhere. A Mexican, eliminating grains is a mission. Why is it a mission? You stop fucking eating it. It's not just because you're Mexican. What does that have to do with eliminating grains? What does that have to do with anything? Right? Whether you're Mexican or whether you're Jewish or whether you're smart or whether you're stupid. Well, if you're stupid as fuck, maybe you'd have a problem doing things. Not calling you stupid, but it doesn't matter what your nationality is. You're Mexican. Grains are grains. Okay. I thought that was funny. Tortillas. Well, fuck tortillas. Fuck tortillas. Eat your rice if you want to. Some people have problems with rice. We're not going to talk about rice. We're going to talk about grains today. Brad Robinson, eating feels like fuel, not weight, not fulfilling. Eating feels like fuel, not weight. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. I think that's a typo. Sometimes I know, and by the way, sometimes I know spell correct gets in the way and doesn't allow for what you mean to say. You hit send and you're like, God damn it, iPhone. Elena Blankenship, I don't eat bread. I am high fat, low carb, and I find I'm not bloated and swollen anymore. I just feel so much better without it. Word. Stopped eating, parentheses, almost everything. So Jeffrey Vival is starving himself on Instagram. Now, dropped 35 pounds in 3 months, kept muscle, tanked my hormones, though, gained it all back hard and fast. I don't know what you were eating. You said stopped eating almost everything. It sounds like you did a starvation diet, which makes sense that you gained it all back. So maybe you want to drop a little more comment there. What happened or what was your situation from that? Let's see. Brian on Facebook. First few days, I feel low energy. Then I feel much healthier and usually lose weight. Remember, if you do any kind of elimination diet, you do any kind of cutting something out, your body is going to go through some kind of withdrawal. You're not used to eliminating bread. You're not used to the cravings. You are kind of repurposing. Your body is going through a seismic shift when you cut stuff out. And that's why you might feel a little sluggish. But then when you clear that out and your body isn't craving that anymore, you're not feeling that bacteria in your gut, you'll feel often better. Maybe I'm in the wrong group. No women. I did cut out dairy. Maybe you're in the wrong group. No women. What does that mean? Misty Wilson, wrong group. No women. Everyone's welcome here on the gain train. Everyone's welcome here. This is for women. This is for men. This is for everything. Oliver, I can really tell how food affects my body now. If you do the elimination diet, you'll notice this. Okay, so let's get into what we're talking about today with grains. Let's talk about gluten, but not specifically gluten. Not specifically gluten. Gluten has been the, the poster child for lectin proteins. It's been the poster child for what you want to get rid of and where the food companies have gone with gluten-free this, gluten-free that, gluten-free this, gluten-free that. You'll find a lot of gluten-free shit out there. Now, when you're buying a product that is gluten-free, a lot of times it is full with sugar. It has other sorts of sweeteners like gluten-free bread. It's just air or made from rice, which people have issues to as well. And there's other types of ingredients that could also be detrimental. The thing is that gluten being so popular, and when I say popular, being so popular to get rid of. So gluten has the spotlight. I think we can agree, right? Float some biceps if you agree that gluten has the spotlight. Some people get rid of gluten and still have issues. I'm also curious for that. Have any of you done some kind of gluten-free or gluten removal and still had issues, or it didn't solve the problem? Because gluten and eating gluten-free foods doesn't mean you're getting rid of everything that could be detrimental. Gluten's just one. Gluten's just one. It doesn't mean it's everything. And I want to talk about another one called, it's abbreviated WGA. It's called wheat germ agglutinin. And you can do your Google searches on this. And I'm going to reference a couple studies that have been done over the past few decades. I'm not going to name the studies, but bring up some topic and some talking points for reasons why, even if you went gluten-free, you might still be having issues. I want to talk a little bit more about what lectins are and the reasoning why they cause damage in the body. And another thing to make clear before we begin this is don't assume that all the studies and everything that we need to know about gluten and about grains and how they affect the body has been researched and has been studied. We think, because we have iPhones, because we have technology, because we have electric cars and all these things, that there's all this science and research done on wheat and grains. We know all those details. Like, oh, that's just, we know these things. That's not true. That's not true. And I've said it time and time again on the Daily Swole that these studies take tons of money. They take a lot of high-level science, large sample populations, and a lot of these studies are done on animals, and animals are not necessarily humans, right? Human beings are animals, but not all animals are humans. So you've heard that phrase before. All fish live in the sea, but not everything that lives in the sea are fish. So you can't just say, oh, well, it did this in a rat. This is what's going to happen in a human. Not the case. We don't test everything on humans because of moral issues and blah, 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 blah. I'm starting to think that it's a lot more than just moral issues. It's because people with the power and the control don't want these studies to be done. So they play the card of it's not moral to test on human beings. They just don't want to really find out what the problem is so they don't lose fucking boatloads of money. It all comes down to money, power, and control and keeping everyone in the dark. So that's another little, I don't think it's really a conspiracy theory. I think it just kind of makes sense. But a lot of these studies haven't been done because the big companies that have tons and tons and tons of money don't want to put these studies into play because they are going to expose some of these truths. And they have to be done over and over again. And remember, one study, a truth does not prove. You have to really coat over this and do different populations and larger longitudinal studies. And okay, that might happen in the short term, but what are the damages long term? What are the other factors in this person's life that could be causing cancer or issues, right? If you're having, let's say, oh, this person eats gluten and they have cancer. Well, maybe you find out also this person doesn't exercise and they smoke like a chimney. So what's really the problem? Is it the gluten in this person that they were consuming their whole life, or is it the smoking and the lack of exercise? So there are, there's a lot of, that's why it's hard to do these studies. So I just want to preface that for those of you that might not have caught the other episodes. And that's why I'm recommending that you go and you check out, especially the last several weeks, these episodes have been you get a lot of foundation. So if you go back and watch and listen to the prior episodes, you'll have a huge base of understanding from where we're coming from and why sometimes I'm talking about these. You might not understand some of these subjects that I'm going into or why I'm saying the things that I am. But if you go back into some of the older episodes, you'll get that context. So that's why the podcasts are great to catch up on when you're busy. So most of these studies were done on animals, and wheat germ agglutinin, I'm just going to say WGA, is a protective lectin protein that's found in seeds, right? And this is to keep away pests, invaders, animals. Seeds are pretty much the babies of plants. And in order for a plant to survive and a plant to evolve and a plant to still be here today as it was 10 million years ago, is to protect its babies. So just like you have a child, you'll protect it from wolves or from other people trying to eat your baby. A plant has specific proteins such as this, lectins, that will prevent other animals, creatures, insects, pests from consuming that because it will damage and it will cause indigestion and issues in those creatures. So then they don't touch the seed gets to drop, or it germinates, or it becomes ripe in the fruit or whatever it is, and then it lands in the ground, it grows, and the plant perpetuates itself. So plants and animals, it's all survival. It's all survival mechanisms. And to preface a little bit more why it is a good idea to eliminate lectins and to go this direction, especially when you're trying to figure out why you're not losing weight or why you're doing caloric restriction, right? You're counting your macros and you're doing caloric restriction, but you don't seem to be losing weight. You don't seem to blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe it's because your body is fighting these issues and you have inflammatory reactions and you're having autoimmune responses to it. And I've mentioned this several times. I don't think it's just a matter of, okay, I'm eating less calories than I'm consuming, I'm going to lose weight. That has a part to do with it. Or you're eating extra calories, you're going to gain weight. That has a part to do with it. But at the same time, if you have an autoimmune reaction and you have a hormone imbalance as a result, and you're storing more body fat and your body is shuttling more glucose into the liver and into the fat cells, and your body is storing more energy, the decrease in calories might still be affecting you negatively because it's throwing off your hormone balance. It's causing a different response in your system. So even though you're cutting down on the total calories, you're still fucking up your body. You're still fucking up that balance. So some of these concepts, let's get into a couple of them. And a lot of members here that you saw in the comments, if you didn't scroll down or scroll back up, they found a lot of great results from cutting out wheat, from cutting out lectins. And that's just, okay, trial and error, right? So the lectin protein protects the wheat from the invaders, from the pests, from the animals. And what these lectins do, and what wheat germ agglutinin does, is it increases intestinal permeability. And that is another fancy term for leaky gut. And float some biceps and some hearts, share, say, what up, Papa Swole, whatever you want to say, just float some biceps at least if you've heard of leaky gut. That's becoming a little bit more of a common term, unfortunately. Leaky gut's becoming a little bit more of a common term to hear about. And leaky gut literally means that your gut, your intestines are leaking. Intestinal permeability. You have these lectins that are affecting the binding sites on the intestinal membrane, and they're causing swelling in the cells and gaps, literal fucking gaps in the intestines. And then shit's going through your intestines. And when particles that are too large or that shouldn't be found in your bloodstream are getting through the intestinal walls, then you have an inflammatory reaction. Your body says, invaders, let's go to war. And when you have a war in your body, it stores fat, you retain water, all those things that you don't want. So when you have trouble with these love handles and fat around your stomach and your waist, and how do I get this back fat? How do I get rid of this fat under your arm? And how do you get your fat off your chest? When cortisol levels are high, you tend to store fat in those areas you don't like, around your hips and your stomach and your arms and your chest. Estrogen levels go up and all these, fucking inflammatory reactions in people. And a lot of times that's because of this leaky gut system or syndrome, we can call it, as a result of the inflammation from the foods that you're eating that should not be consumed. So the leaky gut autoimmune issues go up, and this can be attributed to a lot of different things, from joint pain to sleeplessness to headaches, chronic migraines. So if you have any chronic issues, comment below right now. Do you have joint pain chronically? Do you get chronic migraines? What do you have as a result of your struggle with nutrition? Maybe you're just thinking about it now. Think about it. Do you get chronic migraines? Do you get migraines a couple times a week or a few times a month? That's not normal. It's not normal to get migraines that frequently. That's related likely to your nutrition. And if you have migraines chronically, you need to take these words very seriously, because it could be so simple as cutting out lectin-based foods like legumes and like grains, and it could literally just disappear. I'm not guaranteeing that. Chronic joint pain, these are all related. Think about why you might have chronic joint pain. I'm going to get to this stuff when we talk about glucosamine and shit like that. Why those supplements, and I'm always harping on the supplement industry. Not that I think supplements are the devil, but I just think it's so fucking Wild West, and everyone thinks it's so cut and dry, like a supplement is good. Just because it's on a shelf doesn't mean it's good. It's just really wide open, and it's not really tested, and you're being pushed a lot of garbage. So you're getting pushed a lot of these anti-inflammatory drugs. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So there was one study, and I'm poking around the interwebs, a study done in the 70s that showed glucose, or how the wheat germ agglutinin mimics insulin very well in terms of binding sites that can help shuttle sugar and glucose into the fat cells and into the liver, thus spurning more body fat and water retention and so forth. And as a result of that, triglycerides and blood triglycerides can be elevated, which is more of a determinant for heart disease than high cholesterol. High triglycerides is a big is a big one because you could have higher cholesterol, but have a very high HDL cholesterol, and you might be low risk of heart disease because you have a high HDL. But triglycerides are very closely linked to heart disease. So this can be also a factor that can lead to that. Now, there's not a ton of wheat germ agglutinin in foods, but think about how much wheat you're consuming. Breads, okay? I mean, you have tortillas, you have all these different wheat products, and you can look at the back, you'll see a lot of grains and a lot of grain products and grain sources in a lot of the foods that you're consuming. A lot of wheat sources, pastas, and all sorts of things like that, that can lead to these conditions. So the volume that you're consuming. And if you want to know a little bit more about lectins and why they could be so poisonous, I mean, float some more biceps if you've heard of the poison. We'll call it a poison, ricin. Ricin is a lectin. Ricin is a lectin that is, let me scroll. I don't want to get this wrong. Ricin is found, where is it? Where did I find, was it from, like, it's from a bean. I just want to make sure I get this correct. Castor bean, right? So it's a lectin from a castor bean casing. That's right. So the castor bean, and you can extract ricin. So ricin, I think it's like a very, very small amount. Let's see, 500 micrograms can kill a human being, and that's a lectin. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're eating lectins, obviously you're going to die, because you're not going to die from having a loaf of bread. But just to put it into comparison, that type of lectin from the castor bean can kill a human when it's concentrated, when it's, very small amounts, can kill someone. It's a poison, and it's very hard to trace because it's unless you're looking for it. So that's just another form. I don't know how many of you might have been familiar with ricin and that it is actually a lectin. So this is like the same type of family, right? It's found in a castor bean. A bean is a legume, and that's why peanut butter can be an issue for most people. That's why any kind of beans and grains and seeds are oftentimes problems. That's why tomato seeds or cucumbers, the seeds, the peppers, red peppers, those can all be issues for people, not to mention nightshades and all those things. So the bottom line is, if you don't know, if you don't have any experience with this and you don't know how you react, it's very simple. It's very simple. You cut out grains and legumes for, 6 to 8 weeks. Some people say 30 days. You really want to do it for 4 to 6 weeks minimum. And then find out, see how your migraines feel, see how that has adapted. You can do a full-blown elimination diet. You can really go down to the bare bones and get rid of everything from caffeine, alcohol, dairy. That's the best way to do it. And I've been posting on Instagram, I've been posting on Facebook, that if you really don't want to go through an entire elimination diet, then you're not really going to get all the information. If you eliminate one thing, you might not see any difference from your migraines. You might not notice that they've decreased in frequency. So maybe it's dairy and the grains that are causing you problems. So if you really want to find out what's going on with you, you have to do the work. You have to put in the legwork and figure this out. Also, what I want to talk about, I want to build upon an episode that we did a few weeks ago about ibuprofen, about NSAIDs, and the issues with wheat germ agglutinin, with these inflammatory foods in combination with those over-the-counter painkillers and anti-inflammatories. And we'll talk about glucosamine in just a second. When it comes to ibuprofen, an episode I did a couple weeks ago showed, as a newer study, that taking ibuprofen regularly can reduce free testosterone in men. And it's known that ibuprofen causes leaky gut and it damages the intestines. So, like, if you take ibuprofen even just like one time, it can really fuck up your gut biome and your everything that's going on in your system. So it's really bad. It's really bad. And we have a lot of people in the military that are saying, yeah, they just hand them out like Tic Tacs. Ibuprofen, Motrin, those things are extremely bad for you. They're anti-inflammatory. But why are you having inflammatories? Why are you needing to consume anti-inflammatories? So if you have joint pain, What do? You take Motrin. You take ibuprofen. You have a headache, you have a migraine, you take ibuprofen. You have, any kind of backache or this, you take ibuprofen. But what if it's coming from the food? You're eating a food that's causing an autoimmune issue, you're having inflammation, and then you're taking a pill to get rid of that inflammation. Now, one of the big ones that you're all familiar with most likely is glucosamine. So I don't know if any of you now, you can comment below, do any of you now take glucosamine? Glucosamine is one of those, it reduces inflammation, it's good for the joints, blah, blah, blah. So everyone's taking, and that's a massive billion dollar industry, just that product alone. And right here about glucosamine, just a little bit about wheat germ agglutinin, what glucosamine does is that instead of the wheat germ agglutinin binding to the tissues in our body, it binds to the chitin in the glucosamine. So it's actually like the pulverized part of the glucosamine. It actually binds to the glucosamine instead, which reduces the impact of wheat germ agglutinin. So the WGA, instead of actually binding to, let's say, insulin receptor sites or these types of places, it will be interrupted by the glucosamine. So then, no more inflammation. I feel so much better. Let me keep on eating bread, but I'm eating my glucosamine. So if you think about really what you're doing, you're putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids on top of gauze on top of Band-Aids. You're really just putting layers and layers of different shit. You're causing issue, then you're doing this, and you're causing another issue, you're doing this. You're stacking things up where it could just be so easy as just changing what you're eating, and then boom. And then you don't have to take all those things all the time. So right here, a little tidbit. Many millions, and this quote, many millions of Americans who have greatly reduced their pain and suffering by ingesting glucosamine and NSAIDs like Motrin may be better served by removing wheat, the underlying cause, from their diets. So we kind of know this. If you're causing problems, let's fix the source. And more often than not, the source comes from the food. It doesn't come from stress at work. You might be stressed out at work because you're tense from eating poor foods, you're not sleeping well. All these different things that come from food or eating bad or having issues, you can have joint pain. And then what's going to happen? Or migraines. So how are you sleeping well? How are you sleeping at night if you have chronic migraines? You're not sleeping well. So then you're not recovering well. And then cortisol levels are elevated. So, and then it has this cycle. So you're not sleeping well. Then you're exhausted. So then stress levels are higher. And then you're storing more fat because cortisol tends to cause bloating and store extra body fat. And then you're on this calorically restricted diet, eating all this garbage food. And you're wondering why you're not losing weight, or you lost weight, but you're really losing muscle and you still feel saggy and you're still storing fat around your midsection. You lost weight, but you don't look good, right? You kind of lost bad weight. And it fucking pisses me off. It really, really, really pisses me off when you get these so-called fitness experts that really push the macro shit and just eat less calories and enjoy your life, this and the other. There are so many people that do caloric restriction that still have body fat that don't lose. You're causing inflammation. You're changing the composition and how your body works, and you're affecting how you lose weight. Tibor, never thought about eliminating glucosamine. Great to know. You have to go back and watch that part again. I didn't say eliminate glucosamine. I said that glucosamine helps block WGA from affecting the body to an extent. That's why the glucosamine industry has been blowing up, and that's why glucosamine is heralded for reducing joint pain and issues and inflammation, because it's blocking the foods that you're eating, essentially, that are causing inflammation in part. So what's more important, to eat the bread and have inflammation and take glucosamine and try to combat it, or stop eating grains and lectins and then fucking not have to worry about having anti-inflammatory pills and medications because you're not causing the problem to begin with? So can we just eat vegetables, become vegan? You can. Enjoy that misery. You can. There's really no conclusive work that shows that being a vegan will be even better, because vegan is very high in legume consumption. Vegans really rely a lot on grains. So that doesn't necessarily, that's why a lot of people, there's so many people that do restricted vegan diets, raw vegan this, and they have fucking issues and they don't lose weight, or they're miserable, or their hair starts falling out. You can't get all your nutrients. It's challenging. So there is individuality, and everyone's different, and everyone's going to react to things differently. But it doesn't mean you can't be a vegan. Doesn't mean you can't be healthy and be a vegan. You know, we're still figuring all this stuff out. And it's funny because I'll get people messaging me, well, what about this bodybuilder? He's a vegan. And I said, yeah, he's a vegan. He's also taking a ton of fucking steroids. So don't forget that you'll see some of these fitness, muscular guys and you're huge and they're vegan and I've been vegan for all these years. Yeah, well, you're still fucking juicing. You're still fucking taking steroids. What do you think? What do you think? Really? 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 It's like, stop fucking bullshitting everyone. Sweet potatoes by the pound for life. Cheap as shit. And sweet potatoes are really good for you. So that is one of the issues, is taking these anti-inflammatories like Motrin, Advil, the Ibuprofen, the NSAIDs, and also consuming these inflammatory foods. So when you're consuming, let's say, ibuprofen, you're causing leaky gut. You're causing inflammation in the gut. You're having issues. You're causing this fucking damage in the intestinal lining, right? In the mucosal layer. And it's not as much in the stomach as they'll make you think, oh, you're going to get ulcers from having too much ibuprofen. It's really in your small intestine. And if you're causing this fucking rift in your small intestine and you're consuming all these lectins and these elements that are going to be inflaming the cells more and breaking through and causing inflammatory reactions, you're just compounding it. And you see why, right? You see why it's an issue. That's why it can get really spiraling out of control, because you're fucking causing the problem. You're taking pills to fix the problem, but you're causing the problem again. You're not getting to the source. So that's what this episode is all about. And I hope you'll learn something. And I hope it opened up your eyes to start eliminating some of this shit to see if it's affecting you. Let's take some questions. The only thing I take is protein and BCAAs. BCAAs are, you don't really need them. Just eat food. Protein powders can be inflammatory. They can be dairy based. You don't need that. I don't take any protein powders whatsoever. I eat food. BCAAs, it's not going to hurt you necessarily, but there could be an insulin response from BCAAs. All the artificial fillers can cause you problems, aspartame and all these sucralose and issues that are in these supplements. Misty Wilson, can't wait till healthy food is a little cheaper. We just had an episode on this. Healthy food is cheap. Healthy food is cheap. It's cheap. Healthy food is cheaper. I mean cheap. It's not that expensive. It's not that much more expensive. Really, if you buy in bulk and you buy the right things and you're eliminating a lot of these other foods, and you're not spending money on shit that you really don't need in life, it's not really that much more expensive, if at all. Because you're getting more nutrients. You're getting more nutrients. You're affecting your body less. You're not buying, let's say, all these anti-inflammatories. You're not taking all these medications because of the damage you're doing. You're not getting sick as often, so you need to buy these fucking NyQuils and all this crap because your immune system's stronger. It pays off in the long run and the short term. I mean, how many of you are saving money? How many of you are saving money, or how many of you are really going out of pocket and going broke because you're, quote, eating healthy food? Sweet potatoes. What, 90 cents a pound, 60 cents a pound? Sometimes I go to the store, they're 49 cents a fucking pound. 49 cents. One of the best carbs, one of the best resistant starches you can consume. Yucca, super cheap. Kale, it's fucking cheap, but you're getting a ton of nutrients. Good, I don't have to buy the 50 before work. Right, you don't have to, right, you're not spending on protein shakes and all these things. What's your favorite carbs for good mental health? Mental health. Oh, I just had sweet potatoes. Mental health is, that's subjective. I've been enjoying life, eating shit for 31 years. Time to enjoy life a little less and lose some weight. Enjoy life a little less. That's subjective. I think that's almost a borderline ignorant comment. You've been, quote, enjoying. Nah, I'm just busting your ass. But you put, I see quotes, enjoying life. Nah, that's cool. You're back in the clear. No, just think. Just think about it. Nah, Jeffrey, I think you'll like it a lot. I think you're going to feel better. One of the big things that you'll notice once you start changing your consumption and you actually feel better, it's not so much, oh, I have a six-pack now, or I'm huge, I have big muscles, or I have a long, luscious beard. You just get rid of your pain and everything changes. How many of you have gotten rid of pain and chronic inflammation issues or migraines from changing your nutrition? And how has that changed your life? You get rid of pain, you are going to feel so much different, so much better. It's so freeing. It's so freeing to get rid of pain. You don't want to deal with that shit all the time. All the time. Veggies are expensive here in Alaska, but you can't put a price on health. Yeah, because you got to ship those things like 10,000 miles. You also don't have to live in Alaska either. So that's a personal choice. So when you get people that are like, you're like, well, I live in Alaska. You can't complain. You could always move. There's a lot of United States to choose from. You don't have to live in Alaska. And you like to rock climb. There's plenty of rock climbing. Just move to Colorado. You can smoke weed too. So all the benefits. Plenty of mountains. And they really love their organic and their healthy shit in Colorado, that's for sure. Use a plastic bag and you'll get dirty looks, especially like in Boulder and those places. Super hipster. A bag of beans is $1, lasts more than a week. Yeah, but it's also probably causing you. Why do you think beans cause gas? Why do you think a lot of beans cause inflammation and issues and aren't digested well? Bag of beans costs $1, but if it's not helping you, what? I don't give a like. Who gives a fuck how cheap food is? You know, a lot of stuff is $1. Candy is $1. Who gives a shit if it lasts more than a week? What, it fills you up? It fills up your stomach? Why do you think these foods got popular? Why do you think beans got popular? Why? Why do you think beans got popular? Why do you think rice got popular? Why do you think grains got popular? Because you can store it. You can store it through the winter. You didn't have to depend on hunting elk or hunting buffalo. You can put it in a granary and save it. Beans are also rock hard like rocks. You have to boil them for an hour to fucking eat them, and they still taste like shit. Taste like fucking shit. Don't tell me beans are delicious. Beans taste like fucking shit. They taste like shit unless you put a ton of stuff on them. And don't give me like, oh, when you make them like this in a taco, yeah, well, you're putting tons of fucking salt and seasoning and shit on them. Beans plain taste like absolute fucking asshole for a reason. They taste like shit because they don't interact with our palate well. Human beings don't crave beans. We don't fucking crave beans. We don't crave grains. Like in itself, it's just bland. It's bland. Why do you think a lot of bread is like honey wheat? Because you have to sweeten it up because it tastes like fucking chalky shit. Why do you have to put mayonnaise on it? Because you have to try to put some kind of fat on it to make it taste decent. It tastes like shit. Layla, and that's a lot of opinion too, but I really do think it's a lot of people's opinion. It tastes like fucking shit. Why do you think you have to put so much mustard and mayo on sandwiches? Because bread is dry and it tastes like fucking shit. I'm down 15 pounds, chronic migraines, and lower back pain through weight training. Great. Fantastic. Back pain is gone. Joints are pain-free. It's amazing. It's amazing. Share with us what you ate today, please. I had some grass-fed beef, I had some yuca, and I had some bone broth. I had a couple clementines, and I worked out. I just had some bacon. That's what I ate. I'm no mystery. But you have to do an elimination diet. Me telling you what I eat is nothing to do with you. That's why I really don't like, oh, this is what I'm eating today. It gives people the wrong idea that, oh, let me eat that. Nah, you gotta fucking go through the process. You gotta do your homework. Tibor, great insight. Rolling the elimination diet and still taking glucosamine. Sounds like I need to stop the glucosamine so I get a true litmus test on how my body reacts. That makes sense. Taking painkillers and taking anti-inflammatories doesn't let you, for example, know, from scratch. But okay, yeah. Stuck in this body for life. Nutrition is an investment that gives immediate returns. Absolutely. Immediate and long-term. That's what a lot of people forget, is that you only have one body. One of my viral videos, The Truth Hurts, right? Where I'm saying, why don't you treat your body like your car? Everyone's out there, waxing their car, buffing and, polishing the chrome. It's like, but then you fucking eat McDonald's. What? Like, your body is so much more important. Fuck your car. You don't need your car. You got legs, right? You can walk. You don't need a car. A car just makes you get somewhere quicker. But your body is equipped to do everything by itself. You don't need a bicycle. You don't need a car. It's just going to take you longer to get somewhere. So you have everything you need. You just need to make sure you're treating it the right way. Awesome information. Thanks, Kim. Let's get some more comments on Facebook before we bounce. Joseph, thanks, man. Knowledge is the power here. I got to get to work on my history essay. So, yeah, you're welcome, bro. And this is not, I'm not saying this is gospel. This is the truth. Nothing else matters. This is just a lot of stuff that's really coming to light. Remember, there's not a ton of research. This is still in its infancy in terms of nutrition. A lot of people are just starting to see, starting to break through. A lot of this stuff is just breaking through the noise of the government, of the USDA food guidelines, the food pyramid. I think most of us that have a head on our shoulders, we understand that that's a fucking scam and that's bullshit. But it's a big machine, and propaganda is a fucking bitch. Propaganda. Think about World War II. Think about any kind of war, major. Now, with social media and the internet, information gets around. It's much harder to have the same level of propaganda. You have a lot more voices talking. You don't have, let's say, a couple news agencies giving you all the information. You don't have them saying, well, this is bad, this is evil. And then you say, okay, that's evil. Yeah. So we're trying to move this entire massive lurking organism, which is the government and which is all these policies, where all the food companies, the medical companies, the entire insurance, everything from the government all the way down to the schools, everything, doctors, medicine, everything is just completely glued together with this huge, 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 massive, fucking low fat, carbs, grains, all this shit, right? For just decades. It's going to take so long to undo that. But you can do it starting today, tomorrow. Like, you don't have to wait for the recommendations to come down from the American Heart Association. Fuck that. Fuck those old white people, slow making decisions, trying to put money in their own pocket. Fuck all of them. Fuck that shit. I'm not completely anti-government, but damn, like, they have way too much control and they spread way too much bullshit. And this has literally poisoned at least the American people, but a lot of people around the world have been suffering. But other countries are much more progressive. They make a lot more sweeping change with GMOs and with issues than the United States. The United States it's just the companies are too much in power. The people really have to, and it's up to you, right? If you stop buying the shit, they'll stop selling it. Like, if you don't buy foods that have, let's say everyone stops buying wheat. Everyone, let's just say everyone, all of a sudden, one day, no one buys wheat anymore. Bread prices are going to plummet, and those companies are going to start either removing everything or they'll figure it out real fucking quick. All right? They'll figure it out super fucking quick. If no one goes to fast food restaurants anymore and says, you know what? I don't want all this soy. Fuck you. Bring back real food. They will change in a heartbeat. They will pull a fucking U-turn like a car chase. They will drift and they will completely 180. But no one's going to do that. You're not going to have that sweeping, everyone synchronized. But you as an individual, you can make those choices. You have choices you can make every day. So if you want to ignore it and be like, no, well, I enjoy it. You only live once, YOLO, then fine. You only live once, and you're only going to live once with diabetes and in a wheelchair and with joint pain. So if that's how you want to live, that's fine. I'm just spreading what I'm aware of, and I don't choose to live that way. I'm going to try to minimize that. So if you want to use your one life to be sick and in a fucking wheelchair because you want to have your fast food, you want to have your cake, and you want to have all this garbage, then fucking do that every day if you want. It's your life. I'm just trying to maybe give you a little insight so you can live a little bit more a little more of a flourished life. Elena, I have eliminated wheat and grains, but next I am going to be eliminating dairy. My goal is to drop body fat percentage to enlist in the Army. Sweet. Colorado, you ain't lying. Validus, many of my overweight chums criticize my diet and say they want to, quote, live a little. I'd rather feel good 22 hours a day than eat a crap diet but enjoy junk food a few times a day but not like how I feel and look the rest of the day. I hear you, man. You know, a lot of you will get this crazy bloating. When you go through an elimination diet and you really cut this shit out for 6 weeks, and then you have one of these foods and it blows you up and you're on the toilet and you have stomach cramps and you feel like shit and you have migraines all fucking day, you realize what that food is doing. You don't even crave it anymore. You realize, oh my God, if I have bread, I am going to be fucking jacked up. You also realize why your body will store that much fat your entire life. Because if you have that violent of a reaction, because you probably have bread since you're a baby, you have cereal, you start eating grains and cereal when you're 3, 4 years old. So your body builds up these defense mechanisms. It's still causing inflammation, but your body is essentially fighting these foods your entire life. So you don't notice how severe it is until you cut it out. After 3 or 4 weeks, your body absorbs those defense mechanisms, and then your body is kind of neutralized. You're resensitized to these foods because your body doesn't need a standing army against grains if you're not eating grains, right? So if you don't use it, you lose it. Grains are not present. Your body says, oh, well, we don't need these cells. We don't need these warriors anymore. So they get rid of them. Your body goes on its way. And all of a sudden, one day you test, you're like, after 6 weeks, let me try some bread. You have bread for this, you have a tortilla for dinner. And then the next 2 days, you are just like, oh my God, I feel like shit, bloated. You don't sleep well. You're sweating. And you realize, oh my God, this was fucking me up severely my entire life. And I've been eating it almost every day. So maybe that's why I have fat around my chest. Maybe that's why I can't get rid of the fat around my stomach. Maybe that's why my knees always hurt. Maybe that's why I get chronic migraines 3 times a week. Not to mention you're exacerbating it by taking ibuprofen and Motrin and Tylenol and all this shit every time you have a headache because of what we just talked about. That cycle, right? You're eating the food, causing inflammation, taking a pill to cover it up. All you got to do is start at the source. Start at what you're putting in your face hole. All right. Eliminating inflammatory foods. Got a lot of questions, a lot of stuff. Cool. So anyone that's watching now, make sure you scroll through the comments. I highly recommend, if you're watching on Instagram Live, to pop over after we leave here right now and check out Facebook because Facebook is really blowing up with some awesome interaction, awesome comments. And, you know, this is something that you can see that everyone has. Everyone has their own story. I'm going to read this one because this is actually really powerful. Amy Vanover on Facebook. I go to an integrative medicine doctor, and she has helped me change my life. Through her knowledge, information, and blood work, she was able to help me improve my overall health. It was truly life-changing. The things I am hearing you say tonight is basically everything I have done. I totally relate and believe many of the things you are saying. Great. Great. And what's even more amazing is each of you are watching me on some kind of cell phone or computer. So you have access to all this information. Just start Googling. Take fucking 10 minutes when you're in the bathroom, you're taking a shit, and Google WGA, Google wheat germ agglutinin, check out lectins, and just look this shit up. There's a lot of stuff on it, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And one of the things you have to be aware of as when you look at something from an educated perspective is that there isn't always a cut and dry answer. There isn't always a study that relates directly to that. But you have to also use common sense. Common sense is powerful. What's your instinct tell you? What really makes sense about evolution, about how human bodies work? What really makes sense as to the patterns of our quality of life and our health in our society? How about oats? Oats are the same. Oats are the same. Oats, barley, all those things. And if you're consuming a lot of them, if you have issues, look, anyone, if you have issues, and you're trying to lose weight and you're struggling and you're doing all the macros or whatever you're doing and you're trying to narrow down what the issue is, cut it out. Stop eating oats for 6 weeks. Stop eating bread for 6 weeks. Just fucking stop eating it. Thoughts on quinoa, same concept. Same concept. Anything you got to cook for like 3 fucking hours to eat, that's a grain. I mean, think about that. I mean, sweet potatoes, yucca. I mean, some things need to be absorbed, but with lectins, there are certain things you can do that have been explained that you can reduce the impact of them. Let's say pressure cooking can destroy the lectin proteins and break them down. So if you must have beans, you can use a pressure cooker. So that will maybe impact them less. But I would highly recommend doing an elimination and then testing, let's say, beans and seeing how you react. And if it fucks you up, maybe you can go back to your elimination diet for another couple of days and try them in a pressure cooker and see how you react. If it's better, then maybe that's a good way to prepare them if you absolutely love beans and you must have them. But it's the process of you putting in the work. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of these insights and things for you to try. But as an individual, you have to be willing to do that because everyone's going to have a different permeability, an issue with their intestines. Some of you are taking fucking ibuprofen every day. Some of you have never done that. Some of you are vegan. Some of you are, I don't know. Some of you are older. Some of you are menopausal. And some of you, everyone's got their own situation. So you don't really know until you try some of these things. But you have the ability to look into this stuff and to cross-check. I'm not saying listen to what I say and then go blindly do. But what I'm telling you to do is nothing dangerous. I'm not saying eat tons of meat or only eat corn. I'm not telling you anything like that. The fact of the matter is, if you cut out oats for 6 weeks, you'll be fine. It's not dangerous. It's completely fine. Cut it out and then see for yourself. Bread, cut it out and then see for yourself. It's very simple. What about this? What about this? I would say, no, I don't eat those things, but fucking cut it out. Try it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Do it. Oh, but I'm really addicted. But what am I going to eat? What am I going to hold my food between if I don't eat bread? Well, fuck you. And then go on with your life. And why are you watching this? You don't really want to learn. You don't really want to know because you're not going to do it. So, right? To know and not to do is not to know. It's just, okay. So it's only good advice if you take it. So if you really want, and that comes down to, I think I did a post today. I forget which post it was. But it comes down to if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. If you're struggling, right? If you're doing everything and you really want to lean out, you really want to lose this fat and you're building muscle, you really want to take yourself to the next level, then take it to the next level, right? Put your effort where your mouth is. Don't just talk about it. Or if you don't want to do it, then admit to yourself, and it's not that important to me. Then fuck it and keep doing it as long as you're happy. But don't say you want to make all this change and then not put the work in to do it. Practice it. Practice it. Practice it. These podcasts are a lot better than the first couple ones, right? The audio's better, just the setup, everything, all my stuff that I'm doing is better. 2 years ago, because I practiced video editing. I practiced doing the audio shit. I know half the stuff I knew about audio synchronization, editing, and sound editing and all this fucking stuff. Practice. I did. And if I didn't know something, I still do it all the time. Oh shit, well, I don't know that. So I go on Google or I YouTube it and I look it up and I find the answer. Oh, how do you do this? Or how do I do this kind of edit on my video? I look it up and then, oh, cool. And I do that. And then I know it and I've learned it by doing it. So you have to do it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think it's a great segue or a great intro episode for a lot of people. So if you can, please share, tag someone in this episode. Let them know about 653. Let them know about what occurred here tonight on episode 653. Remember, you catch all the podcasts, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of it. And those of you that are watching on Facebook, if you have not yet, and even on Instagram, please drop me a review. If you have not yet left a review on Facebook, if you can right now, head on over to Facebook, click on the review and leave me a review. Drop some stars, drop a couple sentences. I'd love to tag you in an Instagram story or give you a shout out. I try to respond to every interview and every positive comment, but I would love for you to leave a review wherever you like to consume the podcast. So Facebook or Apple Podcasts, wherever you can drop a review. Really appreciate that. So thank you. 653 will go down in history. It will go down in history as one of the greatest episodes of all time. And we'll end on that. So thank you so much for joining me, episode 653. Tomorrow, I will see you for episode 654 of The Daily Mother. Whoa, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, and Slutcast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. My Facebook name is Swolenormous, a.k.a. Papa Swolio. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose, Papa Swolio. Out.